All right, I stopped the stream and started it again. Maybe YouTube's having some troubles. Oh, no, here we go. Looks like it's working now. Let's give this a refresh. Just check that it actually is working. All right, nice. We are actually live this time. It seems to be going. Cool. All right, so basically no experience with Supabase, but it looks like the API is pretty similar to Firebase, and it looks like they're aiming to do that to keep them very similar. So I'm going to try and set up authentication using Supabase, and yeah, we'll see how everything goes. So the first thing I'll do is I'll open the mono repo that I've created now, which is VueAuth. Open that up in code. There, that is there. And so basically, this is where I have all the implementations. Currently, we have Firebase and Sanctum. I just got those working the other day, which is really cool. They follow the exact same API, and they're all just implementations of everything that's in core here. So in core, I've got all of my contracts, and the idea is if I implement these contracts, I can basically use Firebase authentication or Supabase authentication or Sanctum authentication in the exact same way. So that's kind of the goal here. Now, what I might do is I might just duplicate this Firebase folder here. So let's just copy paste that in, and we'll call this Supabase. And then I'm basically just going to go through these one at a time and re-implement them using Supabase. So one thing I'm going to have to do now is require Supabase. So let's have a look at what that looks like. All right. We're definitely going to want to pull in Supabase. I'm not even seeing an example for that there. Maybe if I just control click that, that'll take me to the JavaScript client. No, that's all right. So what I might have to do is just open the introduction section, or otherwise I'll just look for it on GitHub. Interesting. Or we could take a look at how I think they've got like a guide for getting it set up with Vue, for example, and that's bound to show me. Yeah, here we go. Quick start with Vue. Oh, this looks like it's a it's Vue documentation. What's it called? The VuePress documentation is being used for Supabase, which is cool. All right, so we want to look at how they actually install it. Building the app. All right, so that's getting Vite. And then there's a Supabase view. Quickly use Vue. But I don't know if that's a template or if that's an actual package. It looks like it's a package. Okay, I think I pretty much just want the JavaScript library because we're going to do things pretty raw here. I'm going to guess that it's just called Supabase, right? The other thing to do is just GitHub, Supabase, JavaScript, maybe something like that. As I mentioned before, I do not have any experience with Supabase, so it's going to take a little while to sort of figure all this out. I'd say that this is it here, Supabase JS. It's under the official Supabase library. And looks like that's it. And then you create a client. And this is just showing you how to get started with it. All right, so I'd say that's probably it. And you just need to sort of pluck out the logic that you want to use there. So let's do a yarn add, or I'm using pnpm, and we'll install that. All right, so let's set into Supabase, and we'll say yarn, or whoops, p install Supabase JS. Give that a second, make sure that it does actually show up here. And then when that's installed, I can then look at how I actually want to use it. And actually, maybe the first thing I should do is just go into examples and get Supabase working to begin with. Yeah, I reckon that's probably a good idea. So let's go to the examples directory here and just get Supabase working. CD examples. Is that where it is? Yep. And we'll run that command again to install it in the examples directory. And then if I go into my main directory here, by the way, this examples is just a Veep project. We'll probably just get rid of all of this boilerplate so we can get it working. Or I might even comment it out. No, that's all right. I can just copy it later on from somewhere else. So we won't need that for now. Let's just bring us back to a really basic example here. And we're not going to need that either. Yeah, that should be fine. And now if I jump into app.view, what's the first page we're going to get? We've got the home page here. And all it does is show all the routes. All right, so this would be a good sort of ground for us to start playing around. So what I might do here, actually, I like to have a terminal just sitting like over on the side here that I can work with. And we'll cd into Supabase, examples, and let's just run p install there. P is just a shorthand for PNPM that I use. And there we go, that's installed, and let's say pdev, I think I called it. Yeah, there we go. We've got a dev server. And so this is our Supabase dev server. And obviously we're getting all these example routes because I just copy pasted the Firebase thing before. But now we can actually bring in Supabase. So I'm going to close out of that. And this is how we seem to import it. So let's come in here and we'll just import it here like this. And you know what? Let's just get rid of that. I can copy paste that in later on when I'm ready to do that. All right, so what's this problem? Yeah, it's just saying that it's declared but not used. So we're going to do a bunch of copy pasting here just to get like a minimal example. And this is how we create our client. So I'm going to need a Supabase account. I didn't even create a Supabase account, so I need to do that as well. Oh, I might have to use my phone to do this because otherwise I'm going to flash credentials at the screen. So let's just go to Supabase. We'll do a quick search there. And we'll register an account. Or maybe it can just log me straight in. Yeah, with GitHub. Yeah, authorize Supabase. And then we'll be up and running. Man, this is exciting. I've never looked at this before, but... Oh. Doesn't sound good. Oh dear. All right, just had to refresh the page. So we'll create a new project here. Now, what will we call this? Something related to... we'll just call this like VueAuth dev, for like VueAuth development. It's probably a decent name. VueAuth development. We can probably put the whole word in there. Database password. Bugger. How do I do this without you seeing? I might just have to disable scene switching for now. Just give me a second. Stop that. And good, that looks like you cannot see my page. So I could just generate a password for that. I'm not even going to need this right now, but fill that in. I'm going to add that to LastPass behind the scenes. Region, is there one in Australia? That would be really nice. We got one in Sydney. Yes, tremendous. All right, create new project. Give that a second to run. And hopefully I can enable the scene switcher again so I can show you what I'm doing. I just want to make sure that Supabase doesn't flash any credentials that it shouldn't be flashing. So it looks like the public key is flashed, which is totally fine, of course. and all the secret stuff is not. Fantastic. So now I can re-enable the scene switcher, and then you can start watching what I'm doing again. So that's that public key I needed. So now we can come down here, and it looks like that's just pasted directly in here. I want them on different lines, just so I've got the space to see it all. Let's paste that in there. Boom. And what else? That, oh no, that is the public key. Oh man, I've just lost it now. Let's go up here, grab it again. And then in here, we've got the project URL. So I'll just copy that and paste that in there. I believe that's all I have to do to get Supabase set up and running. And I might just do a console.log here on that, just to see what happens. All right. So we've got Supabase set up and ready to go. What's the next thing I want to do? We can probably start following the guide now for authentication. So let's see if anyone's here. Vampire.js, hello. Welcome to the live stream. And it looks like they're not going to give me, it's not going to give me any information here. That's totally fine though. So I'll close out of that. And this is talking about building the Vue app, but they're using their Vue thing, so I don't want to do that. I can probably follow this guide here. All right, there we go. It shows you how to set it up. You could call from the button. Okay, so this is how you sign in. What about register? I'm assuming register is going to be pretty straightforward, where it's kind of the same thing, but you use the word register instead. Let's see if it's got good typing support. We'll say Supabase dot, no. Auth allows you to create, okay. Supabase dot auth, oh, of course, dot auth dot. All right, here we go. That's going to be helpful later on when we want to see whether or not the user's logged in. Sign in, sign out, sign up. All right, perfect. Everything we need. This is a really nice API. So you'll be able to say sign up, and does it tell me what that accepts? Email, password, and I'm guessing that phone number is optional. All right, this looks really super easy. So how about we just create a form here? We'll say input, and then v-model is equal to, we're going to need a email. And how about we just, to make it simple, form.email, and then a password. Form.password. What else? We probably just want to have a break here. I'm not really worried about design for now, but we'll just do it to make it look a little bit prettier. Oh, obviously we don't want that yet. It's not going to work. What's it squawking about? Oh, so now we need to come in here and say const form is equal to a ref, and that's going to have an email and a password. There we go. And now we want to import email. Well, what am I doing? Ref from Vue, and that should be enough to get us going. There we go. And maybe I can have like a placeholder in here. Is equal to email, and we'll have one for password as well. And there we go. So email, password, of course, we're then going to need a button, another break here. I love breaks. They just make it so easy to just quickly scaffold this kind of stuff out. And then we're going to have a button, and let's set that to sign up. All right. So obviously then we just want to say Supabase sign up, and we're going to pass that form in there. That's how we sign up. And then we'll have a function here. We'll probably make it async. No, we wouldn't have to right now. Just want to check that it's working. And we'll call this sign up. And that's simply going to come in here and sign us up. And then we just come down here and we say when you click on that button, you sign up. Man, if it's literally that easy, I'm going to be impressed. However, I'm pretty sure I need to enable it first. So let's have a look around here and see how we might do that. Might even tell you at the top. Yeah, here we go. Supabase search about. Click the authentication icon. It's near the top apparently. I'm guessing that's this one here. Setting. Yeah, okay. Enter the final hosted URL of your app. I don't know what that means. Settings. Site URL. So we'll set it to this. Oh, it's already set to 3000. Huh, that's nice. JWT. This is already set up for me. What is this final hosted? I'm not even seeing anything in there about that. Maybe that used to be important. Now it's redundant. So, oh, okay, under site URL. All right, so I think they're just saying that the base URL of your website. Yeah, okay, so that's already correct for me. Sweet. Under email auth, enable email sign up on. I think that was already on. Yep. Okay, I didn't even have to do anything. All right, there's nothing to say. Wow. Okay, that's kind of cool. Really sensible defaults, obviously, because I didn't have to change a thing. Okay, so maybe this is literally ready to go. Let's try it. And we'll say luke@ldbold.com. And I'll just do a dummy password. And it looks like it's sent that request through. And let's go to users. Holy friggity frick, that was so easy. That's awesome. Maybe I can disable verification for now, so this is easier to enable email confirmation. Yeah, okay, that's going to make it easier. Oh, just had to wait a second for that to change. It'd be nice if they had a spinner there to show you that it's changing, but honestly, it's such a small finicky thing, it doesn't matter. Let's check if we've got any comments. Oh, we've got a few people viewing, which is nice. All right, so now we can register an account. That was ridiculously easy. We want to have, obviously, a login form as well. So let's just quickly stub that out. Sign in, which I'm pretty sure was just sign in. Yep, that's the exact same. And we might actually just use the same form. I just want to test if this is working. So we'll put a break there as well. And we'll call this one sign in. And that function it's going to call is sign in. And it's, yeah, literally just going to do the exact same thing with the exact same form. So let's just clear all of our cookies and stuff. There we go. So that I'm definitely not signed in. Because when you register, usually you get signed in as well. So we'll say luke@ldbold.com. Use that dummy password again. Sign in. Oop, and we got a little problem here. Email not confirmed. Okay, that makes sense because we had email confirmations on to begin with. We'll come back in here. Delete that user. Yes. Man, that was really easy. And we'll come back here and we'll say sign up with those details. Clear all of our application, our site data so that we're not signed in. And now we can say luke@ldbold.com and see if we can sign in with that. Huzzah! Looks like I was able to, I probably shouldn't be flashing that at the screen. So let's do this. I'm going to clear my site data. You know what? It doesn't matter, even if someone does sign in with my account. Okay, just to make sure all that stuff I flashed at the screen is no longer valid, I'm going to refresh this page. But honestly, it doesn't matter. This is just a dummy app. And delete that user again. All right, so what is next on the agenda? Okay, looks like people are interested in this topic. Now that they can sign up and they can sign in, I think I know everything I need to know, except maybe getting the user. Actually, getting the user is going to be something that I'm going to want to be able to do. So, yep, sign out. That's going to be super obvious. I'm not even going to test that right now. Well, actually, I can just look at the API. It seemed pretty obvious. So how about we do this? Create client. Can I pluck it out of here? Like on... No, okay, looks like I can't. It's all right, not a big deal. What do they expose here? Auth user. What is that? That's just an interface. So that's going to tell me what the auth user looks like. That'll probably come in handy at some point. But what I really want to be able to do is watch when the user logs in. So let's say auth dot, and we want to see on auth state change. And I'm guessing I'm going to get something in here. What do I get there? Well, let's just say event and just log it out. Console.log. It's probably not actually an event. What is it? It's going to tell me. Auth change event. Yeah, right. So event probably is a good word for it. So let's save that. Man, I'm really, really liking Supabase. Oh, I'm going to have to sign up again. Sign up. Okay, so that event is just telling me that I am signed in. Can I get the user as well? All right, so they're calling that the session. So it's console.log the session. Let's do a logout button, actually. This will be super easy to do. We'll just do, since they're using the sign word, we'll say sign out. And I believe it is just sign out. We're not going to need anything in there. We'll come down here and we'll just create another button for sign out. Let's copy the break as well. And we'll call this sign out. Sign out. Save it. And now I should be able to sign out. Okay, we get null there. And that's probably because there's no session. Let's say luke@ldbold.com. Sign in. Aha! Once again, it's like flashing all my details there. I really don't care right now. There's like no damage that can be done with this, so that's fine. Oh, wait, Panda, 1 second. I just have to throw my dog out. I think she just wanted to get out of the room. I've got this cute little chihuahua. All right, so we can sign up, sign in, sign out. Okay, and we can get the user from here. That's what I really wanted to know. And what do we get there? We get the user's email, which is probably all I really need to know. All right, so this is everything I need, I think, in order to do my authorizer now. And if I sign out, yeah, that's going to update and let me know that we've got a signed out user now. Cool. So the next thing to do is see if I can create an implementation of my interfaces using Supabase, now that I've sort of like nutted out how the whole thing actually works. And this is probably going to be so similar to Firebase that I can probably just reuse a lot of that code. So let's jump out of example here. Source. Use auth state. Let's have a look at what this looks like. I wonder if I can use, actually, if I can use, what do you call it? If I can just pluck out particular functions rather than using the entirety of Supabase. Supabase JS client. Because it's going to make my bundle size a little bit smaller, but I'm not sure it really matters that much. Well, here's the documentation. Wait, am I on the right one? Is this the JS client? Yep. All right, so let's have a look down here. Installing. Initializing. Oh, this is the docs I wanted all along. All right, so it looks like all that functionality I need is just baked into create client. Let's have a look at auth actually, sign up. Yeah, so this is all baked into the client, which probably doesn't matter because it's going to be a really small file size anyway. And then for that other functionality, you probably just pluck that out. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I don't need to know how all that works right now. It means that importing stuff is going to be super easy because you just have to import create client. Or maybe we provide create client. We create client from the beginning when we create the plugin. And then we just inject the client and we use it that way. Because otherwise we're going to be recreating the client every time. So rather than running that code over and over again, it might be better to just say app or maybe client. let's do that, is equal to create client. So this is a plugin, by the way. So when you first install this, the Supabase plugin, so we can rename that now to, I've changed the casing now to Pascal here. Supabase plugin. And we're now pulling this out of Supabase. Is that what it was? Let me go back to my example. Okay, that's what it is. There we go. And then we're going to need credentials when they install it as well. So let's change this to Supabase options and make sure the typing here is correct. Oh no, hang on, that was coming out of Firebase options. So has Supabase got some sort of typing for that? I can't control click this. Well, that should be, is that not installed in here? Package.json. Oh no, it looks like it is. What's going on? All right, so let's go to the root of the monorepo and say p install. Something might have gone wrong there. Okay, that's kind of weird. That's all right for now. Let's just come back to the home page. I can control click it there. Might be one of those things where I just need to restart code, but we'll try that later on. So what do we get? We get the client. We get the client options. So maybe we can just use that. If I control click that, have they typed the credentials? Well, if we've got the client options, what exactly did that look like again? So we could just like proxy that directly in there. Schema headers. Well, where's the part about the credentials? Oh, I think I'm getting myself confused now. Oh, create client. Yeah, okay, sorry. That's what I'm actually interested in. Which returns. Oh, okay, and then in here, it's just a string for the URL and the keys. So how do we want them to pass it in? So I guess we could just pass it in as Supabase URL and Supabase key. We'll follow their convention there to keep it consistent. Who else we got watching now? Oh, we've gone down to 2. That doesn't matter. All right. So basically, we want to say the plugin options, which is the interface I've got here, is going to be credentials, which will be an object with Supabase URL and Supabase key. Let's go with that. And they're both going to be a string. So it's actually like really basic typing here. I'm not even getting any linting here. Something's going on. So that basically means that when you use the plugin, it'll be like this: app.use Supabase plugin. And then for your options, you will say credentials is equal to, and then Supabase URL, Supabase key, right? Something like this. But then usually you'd probably do something like this, like const credentials is equal to whatever, and just pass that directly through here. So I like that. And the reason you kind of have to nest it like this is because I'm going to want to have the flexibility of adding other options in here, which is why I've nested it in credentials. All right, so let's go with that. Credentials and const client is equal to create client, which is then going to take options dot. Or I could probably just spread that in. No, that's probably dangerous. Let's just be more explicit and say options.credentials dot. I'm not getting any typing there. What's going on? Dot. Options dot. Yeah, man, something's going on in my editor, I think. Let's just close out of everything, close it down, and start it back up again. And we'll jump back into that file. Options dot. Okay, I just had to restart my editor. Maybe I can control click this now. Yeah, all right. It's just some weird issue. Dot credentials dot Supabase URL. Now, this is too much nesting, so how about we just say const, and we'll pluck these out. They're going to be mandatory, so we're going to expect that they're there. And then maybe later on I can do some checking as well. Is equal to, this could be a one-liner. I know this stuff doesn't really matter that much right now, but yeah, options dot credentials. Cool. So now we can just say Supabase URL and Supabase key, like that. And then Firebase app key is then going to change to Supabase client key because it uses a different sort of terminology here. They call it a client rather than app. So I'd rather follow the terminology they're using there. And then in here, we're going to provide that client that we just created. Now, of course, this needs to be done. So now we want to say types, symbols. That's now a Supabase client key. And we now want to inject. So we come back here. I want to get the typing from the Supabase client. Supabase client, there it is there. And so now that should be typed right. And we're going to call this Supabase default client. Cool. So now the idea is we're still going to get typing because we're using a symbol here. And that client only gets created once when we first install the app. And then once that's installed, we can now start injecting it all over the place and basically reusing that one instance of it. Okay, so if we go into our, what were we doing before? A good one to start with, I think, is just maybe login or register. Yeah, let's start with register. Now we can just start sort of customizing all of this code here. And we don't have to pull this out of Firebase anymore. The way we're doing it now is injecting it. So we will need that key though. So we'll say import, what did I call this? I call this like Supabase client key. There it is there. I don't know why I double did it. And now I should be able to say, let's just do this at the top here. Const Supabase client is equal to, if we want to use inject here, and I've got to remember how to do this correctly now. I think you do it like this, Supabase client key, but then you, no, hang on, you don't import the type. Oh, that's exporting the actual key, not just the type. All right, so then you just do that, I think. Let's see. If I say Supabase client dot, not getting any typing at all. Man, I find this stuff. All right, so let's just have a look at another place where I've used inject. I do it a lot in the Sanctum one, so you have to look at how I did it. Implementations. I like the way this one's organized a bit better. Come on, where am I using inject? Seemingly nowhere. Maybe I need to rethink how I've implemented these. Let's do a find in folder. Yeah, because you don't really create an instance when you're doing it. Yeah, okay, but it's just injected directly like so. So let's go back here. Here we go. So we're using inject. Oh, I haven't even imported it. That might be the problem. Now let's try it. Supabase client dot. Yeah, there we go. And we're getting our typing as well. Cool. All right, so that'll be the same. Now we can start basically re-implementing all of this stuff. Use handles errors, set errors from response. That's something that I'm going to have to re-implement there. That basically allows me to say, hey, I got an error response. What's that going to look like? Like, how do I take that response and then, turn it into meaningful errors that can then be used in the UI? So email, password confirmation, that's all going to stay the same. Wow, a lot of this is going to be the exact same. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So that's basically just saying if the passwords aren't the same, we're going to push a validation error. Some of this code could look a bit nicer though. Okay, so this is the part where we actually do authentication. Response is equal to await, and this is where we create the user with email and password, which would be Supabase client dot auth dot sign in. Now, why does that put the question mark there? I thought auth is the kind of thing that would always be defined. Let's look at the typing there. Bugger. Supabase client. So they're saying that this is not mandatory. What's its return though? No, that's not telling me anything. I'd never used classes before with TypeScript, so I don't really know if that means that it is or isn't required. But this question mark that's showing up in my code, so notice down here, I get this question mark by default. I didn't put that in, it automatically put it in for me, which is telling me that this can be undefined, and it's telling us there, Supabase auth client is potentially undefined. Maybe it's telling me that Supabase client is potentially undefined. Did I ever say that it could be undefined with that inject? Ah, that's the problem. Okay, so how do I inject this? Oh, we probably have to do some sort of a try. Yeah, okay. So what we probably have to do is we have to try have something that is like a function that is get Supabase client. It tries to get the client, and if it's unsuccessful, it throws an error so that when I'm using this, I can say, well, I'm always expecting to have the client show up. Maybe I've got some check out Supabase intro. I don't even know if I'm going through the intro at the moment. Yeah, well, I'm not. The thing is, like, I'm not just trying to get Supabase working. I'm trying to do it in a very specific way, this implementation. But okay, so what do I have to do now? This means that we need to have a special function. Okay, I'm doing something similar here. So use app. Let's do this. We're going to rename this to use client. Oh, my phone's making a sound. One sec. It's telling me that I need to have another coffee. Yep. One sec, phone. I'm going to get this done first, and then I'll stop this stream and I'll continue a little bit later on. All right, so change this from Firebase app key to Supabase client key, because remember, we've got different language there. Use app, we're going to call this use client. Error injecting Supabase client. That's probably not a great error. It kind of puts people into the right direction though. And we're going to call this client. So the cool thing about this is it handles the possibility of there not being a client for us. So if we use client instead, it means that we don't have to deal with that situation where it could potentially be undefined. So this just makes it a little bit easier to use when you're using TypeScript. And actually adds this little extra bit of layer of security to make sure that if the app does blow up because the injection key doesn't exist, we get a more meaningful error. All right, so I've got use client now, which means that I can come back in here and say Supabase client, and rather than injecting it manually here, we're going to say use client. We'll import that. And we should still get our typing. We don't need that anymore, which is cool. We don't need, the code's a little bit simpler. Now, if I were to say Supabase client dot, I still get my typing. And now, if we come down here, if we get rid of that question mark and save it, it's not going to add the question mark back in anymore. This is still safe because it knows that auth will be available. Otherwise, an error would have been thrown further up the chain. Tremendous. Now, we can basically throw directly in here. We need to be able to get our config as well. No, we don't. We don't need to throw our config in there. What we need here is just the email and the password. We don't need auth anymore. That's a Firebase specific thing. Why is it squawking? String has no properties in common with user credentials. Sign in. Oh, whoops. We need to actually say email and password, I think. Is that what it wants? Okay, so it wants an object with the email and password, which is cool because it means I can literally just say here form.value. Makes our code a lot simpler. A+ to Supabase. All right, we don't need that console log. What am I doing here? Oh, okay, this is saying if we've got an error. Okay, I don't really know how Supabase errors work yet. So what I'll do is I'll console.log this so that when we get to that, I can deal with that problem and figure out what I'm going to do about it. And we'll also console.log the response. It also, fixes my typing stuff. Wow, that might actually almost be it. Set errors from responses declare but never. Okay, for now, can I just say an empty function like this? Maybe we'll try that. No, it's not going to like that because it's going to have more specific typing. So what does it want for from response? Ah, bugger. All right, so I guess we could just leave that in there for now, but it's not really going to work yet. That's okay. I just want to see if we can get like the basic setup of this going. And now I should have some errors in main TS. So we don't have use app anymore, but we have called that now use client. So we will expose that. And Firebase plugin is now Supabase plugin. And that's pulling from Supabase plugin. Apparently there's no export member for that because we didn't rename it. Anything Firebase related? Nope. Cool. So let's save that. Let's see if we can build it now. We'll come over here and I'm going to cd into Supabase and we'll say p build. Okay, import. So this is in get Firestore. We don't need that anymore. Get Firestore. I'm going to completely delete that. Oh, hang on. Did I delete the wrong one? It's possible I deleted... Oh, crap. That could be really bad. Get Firestore. All right, that's okay. I'm just going to duplicate this into Firebase because I deleted the wrong one. And then I'll say get Firestore and make sure I'm deleting the Supabase get Firestore. All right. Whew, that could have been bad. Would have had to have like gone through GitHub and recovered it, and that would have been a nightmare. Okay, this is cool. This is going to point us in the direction of all of our errors now. I don't want use Firestore either. That's completely redundant. So let's go ahead and delete that in our Supabase one. Now let's run this again. See what errors we get this time. Okay. Got a couple. I used to get this with another plugin as well, with a cookies plugin. I think I've got something wrong with my setup, which is throwing me this error. Like, I think it's linting stuff that it shouldn't be linting. So I might have to look into that. I've probably done something wrong with my TypeScript setup. I'm excluding dist and node modules, so I would have assumed that that would not try and lint or basically do type checking on Supabase. But it is. Like, this is Supabase code, and it's complaining about it. So I don't know what's going on there. It's like running TypeScript over my Supabase code. Maybe the word exclude is wrong? Is it like... I don't know. TypeScript exclude folder. Okay, well, it looks like I'm doing that right. Compiler options, exclude is its own object in there. Yeah. Dist and node modules. Anyway, I'm not going to worry so much about it right now. Or maybe it's because it's using the root node modules as well. So I'm going to try this on a whim. I doubt it, but let's try it anyway and see what happens. Close that down. Let's try building it now. Yeah, all right. I'm not going to bother fixing this for now because I'm pretty sure it is still building okay. So we come in here, we go to dist. Yeah, we are getting, well, I should delete this actually just to check that is working. A second to run. Yeah, it looks like it is still working there. So there's still a few occurrences though where I need to get rid of the word Firebase. Where is that? We've got the Supabase plugin. Oh, we want to call the final thing that it creates Supabase. That's kind of important as well. So it's not in that TS config. Where do I put it then? It's probably somewhere in here. In here, we want to make sure external is Supabase. So that needs to be installed externally. View demi, view route. Yep, all that kind of stuff is the same. We can get rid of that. Base. I don't even know if I still need this code anymore. It's just stuff I've been running into problems with in the past where I end up with dual dependencies that just messes everything up. But I'll look into that later on. So that changes to Supabase composables, and it means in my package.json, let's just get rid of everything that says Firebase and replace it with Supabase. And I'm going to very quickly come in here and say p publish just to make sure I'm the owner of Supabase composables. You know what? It really doesn't matter though, because at some point I'm going to namespace this anyway, so it's kind of not important, but I've done it. Okay, so that's built. If we come in here to our examples, let's see if we can actually use that now. All right, so how's this going to go down? I might have to actually implement a few others. You know what? The strategy might be better to just implement all of the contracts and then start trying to test it. I know that might seem a bit backwards. Usually you're supposed to kind of test as you go. But in this case, since I've got all the examples set up anyway, and they kind of all rely on aspects of each other, it might be better just to do the whole thing. So yeah, I'm going to take a break now. I'll probably come back, do some more streaming later on. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining my stream, and I'll see you in the next one, where we'll dig a little bit deeper. I might even be able to get the whole thing done in the next stream because judging by how easy that was, I should be able to just, blast through all of the others. So all I have to do is come in here and just replace all of this functionality. Most of it is the same because the API with Firebase and Supabase is so similar. And the parts that are Supabase specific, like look at this file here. That can all be the same. The only hard part I think is going to be dealing with errors, understanding Supabase errors and finding a good way to sort of squish them into the contracts that we're using here. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next stream.